This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
You can see that the skies are very much more clear in South Africa this morning, and I can promise you it is going to be very, very hot. A very, very good morning, everyone, and most of all, welcome to the very special Christmas Day. This is Sydney Fumurani Mikosi, and I'm traveling with Marcel, who is my camera operator this morning. We are back, and we are going to try by all means and get you a very interesting sighting. I'm looking for some cats this morning, all the way from where we left the lions earlier yesterday. And you can follow us on Twitter, #SafariLive. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. Without any waste of time, I'm going to begin trekking. A good morning again. Let's hope for the best this morning. I'm going to start from the Sydney's Dam area, and I'll come back again here to see if the Unkuhumas are still by the private property or they are back again in our property. Last night there was also quite a lot of different lion calls. I heard quite a lot of different roars all night long, but so far I have not yet picked up any tracks on the ground. Tandy and Kalamba, they were last spotted by the Torchwood area, but they are belonging to this territory of Djuma. Chances of seeing them anywhere, they are very much high. It's just that these days they are much more interested on that other side of Torchwood. Look here, you can see because of the absence of Tandy and Kalamba, the impalas are growing, and the little ones you can see there, they are just playing at the moment. I'm sure when they come back with a lot of skills lent by Kalamba, we are going to see quite a lot of hunting happening by this side of Djuma. Yeah, you can see the little ones are interested to play. I am not alone this morning on this game drive. Steve is also by the other side at the same place, Djuma in South Africa. Let's quickly go to him and hear what his plans are.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Boxing Day. Some of you, it might still be Christmas wherever you are. So we have left up our decorations, and well, the little chief Hosanna has decided to grace us with his presence for one more drive this morning. Very, very cute. Good morning, everybody. My name is Steve. I'm joined on camera by Dave. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas dinner, breakfast and lunch and whatever it might be that you had. And well, I hope you're ready for a very nice adventure this morning. I've got Patrick on the back with me as well. And at some point, I'm going to be handing over the reins to him and see how he gets along. Anyway, there have been some requests out there for Tandy and Kalamba. Well, let's go and have a look in the areas that she commonly used to be found in when I was back here. Anyway, before September. I haven't yet seen the two of them since I've been back. I'm itching to see how much that little naughty girl has grown, because she was just all cuteness last I was here. And well, now, well, she's over a year and a month already. So time flies. Time really, really does fly. But it is a beautiful morning. 26 degrees Celsius, somewhere around 80 degrees Fahrenheit already. And well, the sun hasn't even risen. It's going to be an absolute scorcher today. Well, we've had 2 days in a row of very warm temperatures, and the sun warming us up already this time of day. It's probably going to lead to some form of high pressure system and then maybe some thunderstorms this afternoon. We would be blessed. But don't forget to send through your questions and comments to #SafariLive. We'd love to hear from you, or just drop them in on the YouTube chat stream. We've already gone knocking on the den site of the Juma clan, and well, alas, nobody is home. I think they've all gone to see relatives for the holidays. Maybe they've gone to see one of the clans to the north. Who knows? Okay, well, as we continue along here, we don't often see too many of these guys around of late. Before I jump you back over to Sydney, let's have a look at two very pretty water bucks. And as they're just behind the termite mound, Sydney Nkosi is out on drive with me as well, and I think he's headed towards Sandy Patch.
I am right now by the Sydney Dam area. This is the preferable area by the lions. Normally when they're coming from the area of Manyeleti, they come and approach here. This is the area where we have seen the new pride of the lions a few days ago. So I'm just starting here because it's much more nice and open. But I can see there's quite a lot of impalas concentrating here, which is a sign to me that the predators might not be here. Yeah, there's still no sign on the ground as well about the presence of these big predators. So it means now I must have to check another border, which is the Triple M. Triple M is the border where we saw one Mangeni male as well as one Talamati, a female, yesterday morning. The new pride of lion that I saw that day, it is called Shikutu Pride. It's one of the prides in the area. I think it's concentrating much more towards the Kruger Park, and it decided to visit us here some few days ago. It was the first time for me to see the Shikutu Pride on a game drive. Yes, I have seen them before. That was last month when I went on a game drive, normal game drive, with the guest by the Buffalo's Hook. It was the day also the guides from the other side were telling that no, it's the first time they are seeing this pride. So it was nice seeing them. So now that there is a new pride in the area, it is going to cause quite a lot of problems because the Unkuhumas, this is their territory. So we are going to have quite a lot of encounters between these two prides, and the fight for the territories amongst these big cats can be so very much vicious. So the Unkuhumas must have to be careful, specifically when having the cubs. We have seen some of these lions mating not long time ago. Now that there's a new pride, it means the little ones, they have to be well protected. Otherwise, the new pride, when coming into this area, they might try by all means and minimize competition by taking down the babies. So now I can see that there is a lovely sunrise coming out, and my friend who is on a better position to show you the beautiful sunrise at this stage is Steve.
Well, yes indeed. Thanks, Sydney. Dave can't help but being artistic. The red sun is rising and making some beautiful colors in the east. And if you would all like to take a moment to reflect on not only your day, but on the year behind you and the final days building up to 2019. It is indeed wonderful, Linda. There's not too many clouds in the sky, a couple little wisps. But I think if there were a few more clouds, that would be an absolutely sensational image right now. Not sure if you can all hear the very loud, characteristic call. Of the red-chested cuckoo, commonly known as the Piet Mayfro in South Africa, which is the strangest name around, because Piet is a very common name for a man, and Mayfro is my wife. So it almost sounds like it says Piet Mayfro. But why anybody would have a wife by the name of Piet is very bizarre. It's one of those old names named by the first settlers to these parts. And it has stuck. So the red dawn, the red-chested cuckoo, flying all the way down here to feed on insects and to parasitize on a number of species, but primarily on robin chats. Snaz, it is tranquil and pretty, although the sound of that red-chested cuckoo, as it gets more and more incessant, that is when the female is, or the male is distracting the brood parasite host, and then the female is trying to lay the egg inside. And well, with the red-chested cuckoo, they've designed this very interesting strategy that the egg will go inside. The female obviously will probably flick one of the eggs out. The eggs obviously need to be laid in the host's nest already, otherwise the host will think, whose egg is this when they arrive back? And well, what's so interesting about cuckoos or brood parasites is that their eggs generally hatch faster than the hosts. So the female will lay her egg in the nest because her mate is distracting the host species, and when that young chick is born or hatched, it actually has this very interestingly designed back, this arched back, and these very large feet for its size, and it's designed to scoop up the other eggs in the nest and to toss them out. It's a very, very sad state of affairs, but the red-chested cuckoo doesn't want to have any competition in the nest, so the chick kills all of the other chicks by destroying the eggs. Very, very interesting stories with brood parasites as the sun just starts to crest over the horizon. So when you hear a cuckoo calling next time, bear in mind there is often death, as the cuckoo has a few strategies of either just laying an extra egg in the host's nest without doing any disruption. They also have the ability to remove the eggs. They also have the ability to, when the chicks hatch, to remove the eggs or kill the chicks. And then there's also sort of a mafia system whereby certain strong individuals will lay their eggs in the nests of others, and basically, like the mafia, the host birds will rear those chicks out of fear of the entire nest being killed. So very, very interesting tactics out in nature, but less than 1% of all the bird species on the globe are brood parasites that obviously benefit from others. They don't often harm the host in any way. They just stress them out and make them work very hard to keep them alive. But anyway, the sun has crested. It's going to start warming up quickly. Let's get a move on to see if we can find any tracks of any Thandi or Tlalamba along the way. We might bump into the little chief. You never know. It is Christmas somewhere. But anyway, Sydney is at Sydney's Dam or somewhere around there. He's searching for a pride of lions.
I am now still checking around here by the Sydney's Dam. I have been there. Now I am down towards the Triple M, and I can see there's some tracks here of these lions going that way. I just want to make a turn by the road. These lions, the two that we saw yesterday, came back here this morning. So their tracks are going this way. I'm going to follow these tracks. The possibilities of seeing them, they are very high. So the lions, they do move a lot when it's cool. They don't like it when it's too hot. When it's too hot, they get discouraged, and that is when they sleep. But when it's cool, like now, early in the mornings, is when they're still going up and down. And I can see that here today we are going to get quite a lot of sun. So the possibilities of these lions goes down much early on their activities are very much high. So it means these lions are somewhere on their way to that side. But I came from that side. There's one of the borders that I checked there, and I didn't see any movement because I didn't see any tracks there. So it means I went there before they got there. So I'm sure they are using an advantage that it is still nice and cold this morning. Miss Lapwing, I am going to try by all means and get you some predators this morning, yes. But it's promising, those tracks are promising. I just want to check the Triple M here to see, because it's only two I saw, which is the pair that we saw yesterday. So here I just want to check if the rest are not walking behind these two. Yeah, there is no, I am not seeing any movement around the Triple M here, so I'm going back now and follow the tracks. It is going to be nice if we find these lions this morning. Maybe we might find them hunting. I don't think they ate anything yesterday. So following these tracks might help us in order to find more lions, because yesterday you saw that the young female was not settled at all. So she is missing the presence of the rest of the pride, the Unkuma pride. So now let's cross over back to Steve and see if he's got some luck already.
Good morning again, everybody. Well, we are driving along the dry riverbed here, and you just hear all the sounds. Woodland kingfisher, the long-billed crombeck, that very loud. You can hear a redback shrike calling. Orange-breasted bush shrike. That's the one thing that works really well for me, is that, well, if we're going out to look for a leopard, we've got to check sort of the riverine habitats, because that's where you'll generally find them. And, well, riverine habitats are a beautiful source of habitat for many bird species, because of the foliage, the branches, the trees, all providing enormous amounts of larval food. So you get all different types of bird species congregating in these trees at different feeding levels, so as to maximize the insects that are about. Obviously there's also fruit-bearing trees along these riverbeds. Lovely amount of noises this morning. I wonder if the birds knew that we all celebrated Christmas yesterday. Probably not, just another morning for them. You hear emerald spotted wood dove in the background, lots of birds calling. Yes, indeed. Everyone's enjoying the quiet moments. That's one of the things that I do thoroughly miss about guiding full-time. Was I used to do quiet walks. I used to take people on silent walk where we didn't say anything. We just listened and observed. And it's really, really something to be out in a place like this with nothing but your thoughts. Your mind starts getting very quiet, and you stop really thinking and overthinking and analyzing everything. We tend to try and label everything. Everything needs a label. We need to identify, we need to identify. When you start getting used to not identifying. Okay, so what is that? That looks like something big. Yeah. There's a lion track running over here. Lee, it is very green. Darby, have I done a bad job here? I think I've done a very bad job of showing you this track. There's another one coming up. Lee, it is very green. We need lots more rain though. We are desperate for rain. There's a tide. Have you got him? There's a civet over there. Teresa, some of the trees have indeed started fruiting. I think we've got the wrong track here, Darby. Let me jump out and point it out, shall we? Here we go. This male lion was moving. I'm out of view. Can you see this one? Okay, so there's tracks of a male lion here, but they are not that fresh. I didn't see them yesterday, and I don't think we actually came down this road, but possible one of those young males that Sydney had yesterday, Mangaian males, or it could be one of the Avoca males. We haven't heard him though. You'd think if he was in the area, you'd probably hear him calling. Lovely sounds in the morning. We call the dawn chorus. The dawn chorus, the birds wake up in the morning having survived the night, having survived the perils that come with trying to roost in a tree without a house of any sort. The snakes, the genets, the cats did not get them, and in the morning they sing their, what we think is beautiful bird song, but in fact is warning and death threats to all of the other birds of the same species to say, I am alive, do not dare come into my territory. Sorry, Emma, I didn't get that comment from the good news. Could you repeat that for me, please? Oh yes, the good news, there are a lot of tracks most mornings. That is the morning newspaper, we always like to call it, and the prime reason why, if you haven't watched this show before or you've never been on safari in your life, trackers will sit on the front of the vehicle there of activity of animals that move around in the night time and the early morning when it is much cooler, obviously, to do so. That's why you'll get me all the time sort of fanning off left and peering out onto the ground, constantly trying to see where or what has moved. So here we check a few of the watering holes as we go through sort of a bit of a customary sort of routine. Check the water holes, drive along the drainage line, see what animal might be hiding. Good morning, Mohammed. You want to know how we know if a track is new or old? Well, I had a long discussion about this the other day, but it always is good to repeat. I'll spend a bit of time this morning and maybe go over some tracks for you. But essentially, some animals are nocturnal and some animals are what we call diurnal. And so freshness of a track is often species dependent. When you find a track, for example, then I didn't show it to you clearly. That lion track had actually some moisture on it. It had very rough edges from where the wind had blown it, and it had been driven on. So I know for a fact that someone drove on that, and we are the first ones down this road this morning. So it wasn't this morning, it wasn't last night, it might not even have been, it might have been yesterday morning. But through tracking, you look at the sort of the sharpness of a track. I'll try to find you a few this morning. Unfortunately, where we're about to go into is very hard to discern tracks in very sandy soil like this in a dry riverbed. That you can identify a track, but freshness is quite difficult to do so. But on sort of more sort of harder ground, you'll also see the shininess of a track. A new track is very shiny, very fresh. If you get the opportunity, go outside. If you've got a little sort of sandy area or soil-like area, go and put your foot there, scratch the ground with your shoe and see how shiny it is as it disturbs the soil underneath and takes on the marks of your shoe, and slowly over time that track starts to deteriorate depending on wind conditions, rainfall, nocturnal animals maybe moving over it, diurnal animals moving over it, and then you get the indication of a time frame. But not always easy to get a very accurate time frame, but you can work on. It was definitely before yesterday morning's game drive. Okay, well, while we try to get through here and not lose too much signal, I'm sure Sydney has got lots of information on tracks as well, so let's go and ask him.
So here on the ground, I do have the tracks already showing that these lions are heading much more towards this direction, which is the direction where I am at the moment. So you can see this is a nice and very clear track here. And this is one Mangeni and one Talamati. They are heading much more towards the Buffalo's Hook area. Without any waste of time, I'm going to quickly follow these tracks, because otherwise I'm going to lose them. Once they get to the border, we won't see them. So we are not very far away from there. Let's hope they are still on the road. But the tracks, they look very much fresh. Joya, the conservation-related subjects, we do have them in school. Like when I did my primary, both primary and secondary level, from junior primary, senior primary to secondary level, I did quite a lot of conservation-related subjects. It was called by that time conservation farming. So there are some of the models on agriculture which involves conservation, and also in biology we do have some of the conservation related subjects, as well as on geography as well. So conservation farming is something that we have been taught from the junior primary schools until we get to secondary and the tertiary levels. That is quite a very interesting question. How I started to become a guide, a story is so very interesting. When I come from the deep rural areas of Limpopo province, in the area called Venda. And there, when I did my primary level, we used to go to the Kruger National Park because it's just about 55 minutes away from my village. So we were doing a school trip every time to Kruger, and when we get to Kruger, we used to be we used to be taken care of by the environmental interpretative officers. Those are the people who were receiving us and teaching us and interpret how nature works. And subjects such as pollution were also involved. And sometimes at school, they used to invite people to come and play to us the movies. And one of the movies was wildlife and conservation related. And we will be also watching animal behavior, lions hunting, and I got fascinated by all those movies. And I fell in love with the career. After that, I decided to take the major subjects leading me to do the conservation as a whole. And then I did some of the nature guiding related qualifications, and after that I did some of the conservation related qualifications with the University of South Africa, and that is how I became a guide. And from 2010 until 2018, I managed to win about 18 different awards. On these awards, I was even best nature guide of the whole South Africa of the year 2016. And in 2010, I was the second best guide of the whole South Africa. And I also got quite a lot of different awards for the best guide in the Limpopo province, which is the province where I come from. And some also best nature guides awards from the South African national parks, where I was competing with all the guides working for the South African national parks. And I've got quite a lot of highest accolades there. So it looks like yeah, no, it's something that I have done while I started guiding. So this is something I told myself to be while I was still very young. So I do enjoy guiding people on TV as well as on commercial guiding. So I am now investigating the border between our side and the Buffalo's Hook. Navi, my favorite area of studies is animal behavior. I am so very much in love with animal behavior. And the studies I did from the universities, conservation-related studies, is also consisted of quite a lot of animal behaviors when we are doing practical. And this helps me in order to regurgitate while I am with you here on SafariLive. So I'm not only specifically guiding from the just guiding qualification, I'm also using some of the knowledge I have obtained while I was doing conservation-related studies. So these lions crossed here. So this lion has crossed here to the Buffalo's Hook. Unfortunately, they were just in Juma for Christmas. Now that Christmas is over, they went back to the Buffalo's Hook. So I'm going to try the Buffalo's Hook Dam and see if we can find any other tracks there from the different lions. Because these ones, I am sure now that they are in Buffalo's Hook. I didn't copy the question nicely about the Unkuhumas. the question, I got it nicely now. If the new lions are used to the vehicle, as our lovely Unkuhumas, the lions we saw yesterday, the Shikutu pride is also not nervous and they are comfortable with the presence of the vehicles. As I was not alone in the sighting that day, we have seen cars very close to them, not on a distance, and they didn't show any level of aggression. They were just calm, which is a sign that they are used to the vehicles. So now let's cross over back to Steve, who's got something interesting.
Thanks, it is good luck finding those lions. There's some reports on the radio that the Unkuhuma pride might be coming in from the west. And, well, unfortunately, we just lost some birds there. They're called the Rhett's helmet shrike. I've got a beautiful photo for you here on my screen, which hopefully is not too fingerprinty. Isn't that an awesome looking bird? So, cooperative breeder. We're talking about feeding heights and sort of how birds sort of stratify themselves, and this bird being a cooperative breeder feeding high in the canopy. They're always right up at the top of the trees when they feed, and their counterpart, the white crested helmet shrike, feed from sort of midway all the way down. And talking about cuckoos as well, thick-billed cuckoo parasitizes on these ones, and but like I said, only a small portion of those species exist. But here in this riverine area, the different sort of feeding heights as the birds will move through, feeding on different insects. And what the helmet shrikes benefit is they almost, you could attribute them to the hunting strategies of dolphins in a way, in that while they're moving through, other insects that are being displaced by the movement of the birds, others are picking up along the way. So they help each other catch those very camouflaged and hard to see insects within the tree canopy. The big hole, oh, we're good. The big hole that I went straight through. So we continue along this riverbed, listening for all the wonderful birds. Maybe we'll find you a thick-billed cuckoo. Hello, Minamu. Prettiest song. It's a very good question. I don't know, I just get excited when I hear birds call, and I don't know what the prettiest song is. I'm gonna have to really think about that. Which one do I enjoy the most? Off the top of my head, I can't think. Let me think about it. The Rhett's helmet shrike has got that Ariba sound, if you haven't heard it before. I can play it for you real quickly while we drive past. It's a very cool sound, isn't it? I always enjoy hearing them. Not as common as the white-crested helmet shrikes. Now, I'm not going to say that that's my favorite call. Oh, I'm going to go this road. Where are we going? We're trying to figure out where we should check, because these are the times when a little bit of sort of gut feeling can either take you left or right, and so it's always nice to sit and just have a little smell which way smells sweeter or which way smells more like a leopard. And then, well, often you can be lucky, often you can lay it down to being seriously skilled at what you're doing. Sometimes it's absolutely random. Okay, what are you feeling, boys?
Tricky one, eh?
Pat's giving us a right. Darby? Okay, well, we're going to go right. We're going to go right, Pat? I had a first feeling to go right there for a second. Onto this road now called Battalier. And, well, it's not a bad call, because this road runs along the small little drainage system. So Nyala Road is just on that side. Let me show you on the map. Those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, here we are in the middle. We're here. we're in the middle of the river there, and we've decided to take Batalia, which will take us this way. On the other side of the drainage is Nyala Road South, and this is a very nice drainage line that goes all the way to the eastern side, and well, it links up to the Buffelshoek sort of catchment system as well, and well, often a very good area to check. Because the leopards like sort of the riverine habitat, that is where you should be checking, and lots of hyena tracks. So maybe I can do a little chat now on freshness of tracks. Okay, let me to jump to Avi. I'm doing a really bad job of getting you in the right spot here for these tracks. Taz, you want to know if I've ever been lost? Well, most guides won't admit to getting lost. They'll admit to being temporarily disorientated. So yes, for moments you do feel that you're not finding your way, but just give it a few minutes and just have confidence that you will find your way, and well, you generally do. Okay, so this is quite interesting here because we got quite a few tracks on the ground, and here, you got this one, Darby. This one here is hyena, and it is quite fresh. Can you see the coloration of the soil here versus here? It's very, very dark. Here is the hyena track. They've come down, they've kicked into the sand over here, and the freshness is showing through color. As the day develops, it's going to get lighter and lighter and match. So if I you can see here it's very, very light. If I dig it, you see how dark it is underneath. So that is from disturbance from the animal's foot, but that will darken once again. And over here we have got a civet track. A civet, there it is again, and you can see that it is the same color as outside, which goes to show that that was much earlier. Oh, I'm having a bit of a radio meltdown. Sorry about that. The similarity in coloration there versus the hyena. So the hyena definitely came after the civet, and if you walk down this way, you'll probably be able to see that the hyena is in fact on top. Yes, indeed. Here's the hyena. He's walking. But what is on top of the hyena over here is one of the Franklin species that has walked through, and while the Franklins are active nice in the early morning. So civets can be quite late at night, even early evening. Hyena, well, they just do what they want to do all the time. But the Franklin will not be moving until the sun comes up, and they've walked through and they've gone over the hyena track. So by looking at the movement of other animals, their tracks on top of other tracks, you can have an idea of when they were moving around, and you can get an idea of what sort of time. So these hyena were probably moving back towards wherever they're going in the early hours of the morning. The Franklins have woken up just as the dawn approached, so probably about an hour, less than an hour. The Franklin, hyena anywhere from about 3 to 2 hours. So I hope that helps a little bit. We can definitely delve more. Just get my earpiece back in. Definitely delve more into the tracks, because it is a science, it is an ongoing art, and the only way to get better at it is to practice. The only way to learn is to practice, practice, practice. Well, it seems like Sydney, who's, I think, lost the tracks that have gone west or north, he has decided to stop and give you a view of the sun.
Yeah, no other lion tracks here where I am. At the moment, I am right entering the Buffelshoek Dam area, which is where I'm going to check. Maybe you might be lucky here and see something. But all the way down from Sydney's Dam to here, the only tracks I saw is the tracks I was following. Tracks which got disappeared right into the Buffelshoek area. But it's normal. The lions, they know the sun is giving them a problem, so they've got to walk much earlier than now. So here by the Buffelshoek as well, I am not seeing any tracks coming out on this road. Yeah, that is quite a lovely question, but it's a question that I have answered earlier on. What made me to decide to become a guide? The motivation came long time ago. Motive behind this came long time ago while I was still at school, and there is some of the teachers who contributed towards this, as they saw that this is my area, this is what I love the most, and they used to encourage me too much in order to carry on in conservation. So there is also a program, TV program, which was called 50-50 in South Africa, where we used to see wildlife and how predation works. That is something else I was watching all the time. So now let's quickly go back to Steve, who's got more birds.
Well, we found for you a very pretty bird, one of the coolest birds actually that we get around, and I'm going to have to show it to you because, well, of course, it flew away. That's what feathers are enable birds to do, I'm afraid. Here we have got the beautiful African cuckoo. African hoopoo, I'm sorry. It is definitely early in the morning on Boxing Day, and you see that beautiful crest that stands up there. That is when they get excited. They'll do that, and you see that long curved beak. We were talking yesterday on my drive about the adaptations of birds and feeding strategies, and long straight or curved beaks like this enable birds to practice a feeding technique called probing, which means that they can dig deep into the ground. They can just probe in, looking for worms, looking for things that are trying to hide underneath the ground, and they walk around on the ground. They needle, they're almost like a knitting needle going through, a knitting machine going through and sort of looking for all the insects. And then you get similar birds along the shoreline that have got a similar feeding strategy. Okay, well, it looks like we have got an enormous tree in the road here, and we're going to have to do a little bit of a bypass, so do please bear with me. We're going to have to go around because it looks like someone's done this before. Hello, Teresa. Bushwalks versus drives. Well, it really depends. They're both really, really nice. I like to get out, I really do. I love being out in the bush. Bushwalks, from a guiding point of view, when I used to take people out, I used to love walking. The difference here is it's quite different to do a bushwalk with the camera than it is to do with about 6 or 7 people, because so many things come to... Oh, I don't know where I'm going, Dave. Do you? No? Need to get back to the road somehow. But when you're walking and you have people on foot with you, what we see, the birds, the tracks, the smells, the sounds, that is really what blows people away. That is really what blows people away, is the feeling you get of being out in the bush, and the silence that we can practice by walking quietly and by teaching. Oh no, there's another tree. There's 2 enormous trees here. Okay, well, I seem to see that someone has done exactly this. I'll have to report that and get that sorted out. But vehicle-based guiding is awesome in the fact that you can get close up and personal with large predators and large animals, where on foot it's not as easy to do so. So when you are walking, yes, you can encounter lions, leopards and elephants and buffalo, but it's a very different story than it is in the vehicle. From a photographic point of view, you're not going to get great photos of these animals on foot. It's more about the experience. It's more about being out of a comfort zone. Everybody knows what it's like to be in a vehicle. If you've never been on game drive before, you've still been in a car, and while out here walking in the bush with these potentially dangerous animals, sometimes can change people's lives forever. And so walking for me is incredible, but it's not something everybody can do. If you've never been on safari before, I would ideally go on a few sort of game drives before plunging yourself into approaching elephant on foot. But the silence and teaching people the bush, and also I think that question about getting lost, You can get lost on bushwalk, but you're constantly reaffirming or re-establishing your direction. And there's lots and lots of techniques to do so. And it's quite nice when you get guests involved in direction. You ask everybody, which way is camp? And they all point in 5 different ways. There's the hoopoo. Come on. Yes. There we go, boy. 5 different ways. And then you teach everybody exactly where to look and how to find home. So I have been temporarily disorientated a few times, and maybe I've been a little bit late due to a detour that's had to be taken to maybe avoid a herd of elephants, or maybe I veered off a little bit left, but invariably I always get back. I've never had to call anyone to come and fetch me. Just like what Ralph used to say, if you get stuck and you get out without calling anybody, you didn't get stuck. When you have to call somebody, Brent will know all about it, because he gets quite sensitive about being pulled out before. There's the hoopoo on the floor, doing that sewing needle sort of sewing machine. See him, look how he's probing. Oh, hello Snazzy, you want to know if life of a bird is easy going? Well, they wake up in the morning, the dawn chorus. They often will have a little bit of a grooming session. Then they will move off to feeding grounds after maybe doing some calling for territory. They'll move off to some feeding grounds. Constantly during that period of time, while they are feeding, they are under threat of being eaten. Now we're starting from the morning, so then they'll spend most of the day trying to avoid the heat, trying to avoid being eaten, moving between feeding grounds and drinking. Here he's sitting here beautifully, nice and excited. There's lots of small raptors out here in the daytime that are looking to try and catch birds. And so once they finally get through the heat of the day, then they'll have a bit of a bath towards the afternoon, and some more feeding and drinking before finding a nice comfortable place to do their final groom for the day. A little bit away from the nest where they'll get rid of any parasites they have. A very nice sort of bit of me time. And then they'll go to their roosting site. And then they'll spend the night trying not to be eaten once again. And then the cycle continues. So I don't know if it's an easygoing life. I think it's a very interesting one. Living out in the wild, you basically are living in the moment and the moment and the moment. I don't think birds invest, like most of the animals out here, they don't invest in what could be or what could come. They just kind of go with it as it comes. Could be their last meal every time they feed on something. So I think we can take a lot of lessons from that. Not get too carried away. And they talk about the classic sort of Zen story of when 2 ducks meet in a pond. They have this big fight. And then they turn away, they flap their wings, and they let it go. That issue is gone. Once they've sorted out who's the dominant, they let it all go. So many of us can take those lessons to heart and realize that life is not that bad. Have a fight with someone, but get over it. Don't carry it all the way around. Don't carry it for life. Don't show animosity towards that person. We're all just trying to survive. Sorry, Em, was that what is the difference between a male and female hoopoo? Oh. Nancy, I don't think there's a difference between male and female. The male's just slightly bigger. Just slightly bigger. So unless the 2 of them are together, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you who it was. But maybe because it had such a beautifully excited head standing up, we're going to assume it was the male, because, well, it's Boxing Day. All men are excited on Boxing Day, aren't they? Pat, you excited on Boxing Day? Yeah, Pat's excited. That's a bit of a Muay Thai boxer. He likes to do that, don't you, Pat? Keep you fit. Davy from time to time also has a little bit of a go. I think not so long ago, Steph van Winterboer, who was here, showed Davy a little bit of how it feels to be kicked. Davy, did you? And you put the pads on, and Steph was kicking you. That doesn't sound like fun. Doesn't sound like fun. Steph's quite a strong man. But what have we got here? Still that civet moving all the way down. You know, all the time I've been here almost a year, 2nd of January, be a year, I still have not seen a civet this time around in the Sabi Sands. Tracks are all over the place. That's one of the things I was talking about the other day. What's so interesting about tracks and so important about tracks is because you can prove unequivocally that there is an animal in the area even though you don't see it. Just like we don't see the aardvark very often, we don't see honey badgers all the time, although we're seeing more these days than we used to. Haven't seen a serval here, but I've definitely had tracks, and well, civet tracks indeed are all over the place. So a nice sort of passive measure of monitoring animals and the presence of animals. And if you've got a track of an animal, it is there. And if you understand freshness, you'll obviously know a track's not going to stay in the sand for months unless it is muddy. That looked like a little falcon of sorts, but I didn't quite get it. It possibly was an Amur falcon, but I'm not going to stake my life on that. The Amur falcons migrated in their hordes all the way from sort of Eastern Asia, coming all the way down to South Africa. And obviously Africa, really, really large migration. But I'm not sure. I didn't get a proper look. Anyway, we're out on the eastern side now, looking to see if maybe there's any activity or tracks of the Queen Thandi and her daughter Tlalamba. It'll be nice to see them as we check this road called Drakensberg. We're going to throw you over to the western side of Djuma, where Sydney is, well, I'm not quite sure, but no doubt he's busy doing something.
I am now by the Cheetah line heading towards the Chitwa. I'm going to see if maybe we cannot find any of the cats in that area. Here is the border which normally informs me about the movement of Thandi and Tlalamba. I am not seeing any evidence showing that Thandi and Tlalamba are back on your property, or they are still much more by the Torchwood. So it's very much important in order to start trekking by the border, because here is where we get confirmation of the movements. So you can hear the woodland kingfishers are so very much excited here this side. Oh, there is a wildebeest here next to me. This wildebeest is so very much relaxed and is just all by himself. So you can see that wildebeest is just all by himself there. Unfortunately, it's on the wrong direction. So now let's quickly go back to Steve, who's got a lovely bed.
We did have a bird sitter's thanks, a little bit way too far off. We couldn't even really get it on the camera. So anyway, hopefully we'll find another one. But sometimes it's nice to see a bird from the distance and not be able to identify it. Talking about that labeling of things earlier. You don't have to know everything. The human race is... Oh, there we go. Okay, so I don't know how fresh this is. We'll have a little scan now to see. But we got some more tracks on the road, and this time they are of lions once again. And those of you out there who don't know what a lion track looks like, I'm going to explain it for you, because yesterday was Tracking Tuesdays, and lion track is probably one of the easiest ones to learn and identify. Okay, so I think I got my radio working this time, so we're going to be all good. But you can see over here that this is the track here inside the circle. The back of the pad, it's got 3 lobes, which is characteristic of cats, and then here are the toes over here. Everybody always wonders, why do you count? Well, it's nice to know that there's only 4 toes, because cats, they sit on their toes. Cats' tracks are called digitigrade, so they're actually walking on their toes. Their thumb is the dew claw, which is up on the wrist. So they have a very different track, and that is obviously to facilitate quiet movement. And how do you know if this is a male or female? By the size. It is very, very big, almost the size of my hand. And well, male tracks are often much wider. Here is the back pad over here. Can you see that? And here is the toe. The outside toe is wider than the back pad. So that's a very good indication of a male versus a female, because the males have got much bigger shoulders, bigger head, a lot of weight on the front, and obviously when they fight each other, a lot more physicality. So this is in the road. Let's go in this way. When the soil is this sandy, it's quite difficult to ascertain the freshness of a track. So what you'll do is you go right next to it with your shoe like I did before, and then compare the coloration to that. And this is, you see what I've done here? See how it almost looks like it's moist from the movement? That's a good indication of how fresh it is, and this is matching the surrounding, which goes to show that it is at least a day old. So we'll just have a little look quickly, because here is the track again. The edges are fading. Actually a good example here of the track. It's the same line over here, but the edges are very, very fading. When it's fresh, you can see in my shoe over here. Darby, have you got my shoe? Can you see how angled the edges are? The edges are very, very, very straight. There's no granules moved down. It's quite shiny, in fact. And that was just from me stepping moments ago. The wind hasn't blown, hasn't changed the shape of the angle here. Whereas if you look at this track, it's faded. It's really blending into the background. And, well, it's not worth following at all due to the time that it fell down. Okay, very good. I don't know who this is. It could be that male that was with that female mating the other day. We'll follow it and see where they've gone to, because you never know. You never know what could be happening. Lions do come and go. I hope that has answered a little bit of the questions earlier about freshness of tracks. Sorry, Emma, my comms were a little bit low there. I didn't get your whole question. Comment? Oh, very good. I'm glad everyone's enjoying the tracks. We will keep going over the next few weeks. That's what we need to do this time of year, to find animals. It's all about tracking. And obviously, the animal is not able to, well, they don't hide away their own tracks. They don't try and cover them up. We're the only ones who do that. So you can always tell whether an animal was here or not by the tracks. And that's what's lovely, is to know that just a day ago or so, right where I was standing, there was a big male lion. I always like that. I always like when you're on fresh lion tracks or leopard tracks, and you can almost smell them, and the anticipation of finding them on foot. Just reverse. I am having, there we go, there's reverse. We've got a hornbill that is doing exactly what I spoke about. The birds waking up in the morning will have a little bit of a grooming session where they sort out their feathers. Here is the southern yellow-billed hornbill that is doing a very good job of scratching its back, and you'll see the beak will go back towards where the preen gland is. It sits on the base of the tail, and then they'll go through each of the feathers and add the waterproofing agent, which is what the preen oil does, and then they'll zip and zip and zip all of their flight feathers back. It's almost like waking up with bed head and just having a little bit of a comb to get your hair all straight again, and put whatever creams and lotions that you might want to do. And then fly off from that place to then go and start feeding, because, well, the life of a bird, they seem to be either sitting in a tree grooming, or sitting having some water, or chilling in the coolness of the day, or feeding. So obviously most birds will try and use their time when conditions are cooler. Minamu, is there any reason why birds have a crest? I'm not 100% sure, but it's possibly got to do with mate recognition or species recognition. in the fact that some very closely related eagles could have a crest and one could not. So by having the crest, they probably detail to the individual that they are of the same species. That is exactly true in owls. Owls have ear tufts or they don't, and apparently the ear tufts are designed to give them some sort of mate recognition for species of this, obviously for individuals of the same species. But why else do they have crests? The hoopoe apparently puts its crest up when it's excited. Cockatiels, I think they're called cockatiels, they also do that with their head when it's excited, so there might be an emotional thing, a sexual thing to it. It might make them also look bigger. They might be able to make them, just that whole appearance. So I think there's probably more than one reason, but incredible how adept and how much ability and design there is in birds and all of their different types of feathers. Well, talking about birds, Sydney has gotten to Chitwa, where no doubt there are lots and lots of birds for him to show you.
I am right here by the Chitwa. You can see the crocodile is just looking at the mirror as the impalas, 2 impalas were just drinking where he is at the moment. You can see one is returning back and the crocodile is just looking at that impala there. So I don't think there is any chance for this crocodile to take any action against this impala at the moment. I'm sure this crocodile is interested. So the crocodiles can be very much dangerous. These are one of the dangerous predators here by the dams and by some of the flowing rivers. When they catch an animal, it's not easy for an animal to escape. Oh, the second one is also moving right here now, and much more towards where that one is. You can see when the crocodile is moving, you cannot notice, it doesn't make any noise. Look at that. Let's see where that one who's moving is going. Maybe it's going to climb that little island there in front. So the sun is very hot at the moment already. Maybe that one is just going to walk now on top of that island, open the mouth in order to get rid of some heat. So the crocodiles don't look big when they're inside there, but when it's out, when seeing the whole body size, you'll see that these animals can grow very big. Look at that, it's submerging now. It's difficult to notice unless you see that tail. Look at that. Everything is getting disappeared now. Look at that. So he's there, but you can't see anything. You can see that when the impalas are drinking, if the crocodile is somewhere close by, like that, submerged, it cannot be easy for a predator to see. So now let's cross over back to Steve and see. Steve has got some insects.
Sitters, well, I hope you get some wonderful sightings there at Chitwa. We were there yesterday afternoon where it was absolutely cooking from a temperature point of view. But Davi has framed up a very good looking and giant sized millipede, or in South Africa we call them a shongololo. Isn't that an amazing word, shongololo? And well, they are known as detritivores, and they feed on organic material, breaking down organic material, and they move through the environment, and they are quite important from that point of view. Not as important as termites, but they do an enormous amount of decomposition. But birds moving through the canopies would generally leave these guys alone because, well, they are full of almost a substance very similar to that of cyanide. So they're quite poisonous, and well, if you ingest it, it potentially could make you very, very ill. We saw the civet tracks earlier. Civets, though, are capable of eating these guys, and you can see the digestibility, or the seasonality, should I say, of civets, in that in the wet season they feed on a huge portion of shongololos or millipedes in the environment, and you will find these shells inside of the civet toilet because they like to go to a civetry where they drop all their what we call feces because they are an omnivore. But how the civet's able to digest something that is so poisonous is really hard to really understand. But it's the fact that poison in nature, something gets an ability to eat it, and it's this arms race out there, just like with the cuckoo being a brood parasite. As the brood parasite gets more adapted to the competing against the host gets more adapted into figuring out what the cuckoo's doing. So the arms race in nature and evolution is constantly going along. But I watched a very nice documentary on lemurs in South America, and they will actually take these guys and they'll stimulate them by messing with them and rubbing them on their body and actually licking the cyanide that comes off, and it tends to send them, and the millipedes are then let go and they fall down and everything's fine, but they tend to go into this really crazy psychedelic state as they sit in the tree and basically just trip themselves. You can almost hear like a little bit of a music theme going on in the background. But normally left alone, not many organisms eat them. Scorpions, though, are quite prime candidates for catching millipedes. And, well, they are, as I said, very important in the environment for their decomposition. So nicely, Darby. Nice for getting that one. But as I said before, folks, yesterday was Tracking Tuesday, and we have an answer for you for yesterday's track. Those of you who are not familiar with Tracking Tuesdays, let me just get it for you on my phone. Yes, thank you. Those of you who are not familiar with tracking, well, it just so happens I am in a no signal area and I cannot download the photo. So if you give me 10 minutes or so, I might, unless you can, Darby. That's okay. Darby's left his phone behind. But I will sort this out and we will reveal it shortly. But we'll chat about it along the way. Those of you who don't know Tracking Tuesdays, every Tuesday we'll reveal a track, or we'll put out a picture of a track, and then you've got to try figure out what it is on social media, on Instagram. And on Instagram, and then you can choose and decide what it is, and then on Wednesday, like today, we'll explain exactly why and what it is. But anyway, it seems like Sydney is in a very good mood. He is up and having a dance.
When you see this, you must know there is something interesting I'm going to show you. I am not going to tell you what it is until you see it. You're not going to believe what I'm going to show you here by the Chitwa. So I'm just going to show you something here. I have got a very interesting sighting. Look at that. So you can see right behind the bushes, I have got the lions. One of them is even lying down somewhere by the big open space after this one. So I'm not too sure which pride is this one, or maybe it's, yeah, that one is a female there. I don't know which pride is this one, but I can only see two from where I am. And this one we are seeing now, we are seeing it because it's interested on some impalas. And these impalas are not even much closer. They are now much very far. So that's why you can see that one is relaxed there now. So the lions, you can see, as I indicated, that... Thank you very much for all the messages from the viewers, from both viewers in the FC. And here I am still now having a responsibility of trying to count how many I have got, but so far I can only see two. They are not far away from the Chitwa. Maybe they're going to catch something coming here, because that one I can see has got quite a lot of interest. So I'm just going to pull forward a little bit so that I can show you the second one. Because it's not only this one I'm having here at the moment. So the second one is just right here. In less than a minute, we will be seeing the second lion. Look at that. So you can see that the second one is just lying down there nicely. Looks very beautiful. Unfortunately, this is not the same pair we saw yesterday. Yesterday, we saw one Mangeni male as well as one Talamati. Here now, we are having the lions which are mange-free. So these ones, none of them is having any sign of mange, which is clear that they are not part of the Mangeni pride. So this might be another pride. I'm not sure which one is this because it's only two I'm seeing. Maybe there's others. Maybe it's Unkuhumas. I will check. And this is also not part of the new pride I saw a few days ago. I am right now at the Chitwa Chitwa. And Chitwa Chitwa is quite very far away from where I saw the other pride that day. Maybe there's more lions here because this one is looking a lot much more this side. Very big paws. Those are very instrumental when these lions are doing some hunting because it helps them in order to grab and also to catch an animal. They can be able to pin these paws when trying to take down an animal. So they are retractable claws there which is helping them as well to grab. So on the ground, the paws is the one that we see. And some of these animals have got some of the cuts. You can easily distinguish between some of them just from the tracks. That is not an easy exercise, identifying individuals from just the tracks. So you can see that now the time in South Africa is just about 6:15, is 15 minutes past 6. By 15 minutes past 6, animals are already looking for a shade. It means the sun is very hot at the moment. Too early for the sun to be hot like this. So I'm very much interested to know which pride these two belongs. There is a question which is about the game drives and the guided walks. Which one I prefer the most? I prefer the guided walk the most because the guided walks, I have learned that a lot of people don't take some of the small things into consideration. And it is my responsibility to twist the mentality of a lot of people to understand that nature is not about the big animals. There is quite a lot of tiny little insects which are contributing a lot towards the survival of big animals and also towards the human survival. Look at that. So these animals, when they are yawning, they are not just doing it for fun. Yawning is very much contagious, and yawning helps to cool the brain temperature. And this helps them in order to alert them because it helps with the mental efficiency. Look at that. So this lion looks very much healthy. You can see that lions, they've got quite a lot to eat here. And they are doing very well, the other prides, despite the Mangeni males. And that has got nothing to do with diet. I mean, mange has got nothing to do with diet. There's quite a lot of food for these animals. So mange is something which is just transmitted by the parasitic mite, which is causing the skin-related problems. But it has got nothing to do with diet. So it's time now for grooming. Good morning, all stations. This is Sydney. I have got 2 lions just by the southern side of Chitwa Chitwa. So now let's quickly go back to Steve and see how he's doing.
Thanks, Sidders. Well done on finding some lions. Now, who are they? Okay, well, I've managed to download the photograph. So let me just position in a specific way so that you can see it. Okay, now here is the track. I'm going to do some zooming for you. Tell me if you're happy there, Darby. Yep. Okay, so here you can see the size, centimeters, 1 up to about 9, 10 centimeters is there. So about 9 centimeters. But what's very obvious to see here is that there is a straight line down the middle. It is clearly a 2-hooved track. Sorry, Darby, I'm just going to put it on here and I can hold it better. Is that all right? I need to get, if you give me 1 second, Darby, I'm going to get a stick. I'm going to get a stick because, unfortunately, I've got very fat fingers. Oh, great. Hippo poo all over here. Anyway, that's one of the tracks and signs that you look for out there. That's right, we will survive. But here we go. Here I'm going to use this little bit of grass. So here you can clearly see the size. So 1 centimeter up to maximum 10 centimeters. So basically 9, 8 centimeters for this track here. So there you can see that there's a 2-hooved animal. And there's a straight line down the middle, and this is very flat. Can you see how shiny it is there next to the outside? Very, very flat. And if you look at the shape here, it's very sort of oval on the sides, and the thickest bit is about 2/3 towards the back. And we call this rugby ball shape, 2/3 towards the back. But there's one more element to take into consideration to make this exactly what it is. And here is the front hoof that was underneath it. Can you see it there? This track, this is the back foot stepped on the front foot, which is hidden underneath the track because of how it is stepped. And because of the size, because of the rugby ball shape, because of it being 2/3 towards the back, the widest, and being very flat there, this is indeed a kudu track. Nyala would be much smaller and doesn't have the same rugby ball shape, but they will stand on each other like that, called direct register. And the most common answer out there, everybody, I think you're all having a nice fun exercise. You said reindeer. Well, reindeer don't walk around here. They obviously fly, don't they? We know that because Sydney found a Father Christmas hat yesterday in a bush, as the reindeers were obviously flying through that area. But let me just read something quickly so I don't get this wrong about the Tracking Tuesday. So the most popular vote was indeed reindeer. The answer is kudu. And if you want to know more about why it is a kudu, there will be a video released on our social media pages later today. So if I haven't explained that clearly enough to you, please feel free to ask me. The direct register, so the front foot and then the back foot tracks on top of that. That's one of the characteristic features of the Tragelaphus family of kudu, nyala and bushbuck. I have no idea what reindeer, if they do that as well. I have no idea. I've never seen a reindeer track before. I've never seen a reindeer in my real life. I think they are quite misunderstood fellows. A lot expected of them one whole day to go everywhere in the world. It's hard work, eh? Yeah, apparently they don't have red noses. Apparently. I don't know. Never seen one. Like to see one day. Pat, you've seen one, haven't you?
Nope.
Ah, one of those animals you haven't seen. Pat was talking the other day about how many animals he's seen, and not a reindeer yet. Well, if you're a good boy next year, Pat, you'll definitely see a reindeer. Okay, well, we're going to carry on here. We're on a road called Warripan Road. It's going to slowly get us towards sort of Buffelshoek Dam, and while we do that, Sydney is still with his unknown lions.
You can see that the lion is very much relaxed. Look at the way how he's folding his legs there. And we can hear quite a lot of birds making noise by the other side of the dam. We are just by the southern side of the Chitwa Dam, which is behind the dam wall. So we can't see what is happening by the other side. So we can only see what is happening here. So I'm trying to check everywhere here. I can't see the other lions in this area, and all I'm seeing is these two, and these two, they look young. So they look very young. So don't get surprised. I've got some other vehicles coming to join me at the moment. I can hear that there's one coming. So, but there is some tracks that has been spotted somewhere from here going to Torchwood. I don't know if maybe this is part of those tracks of the Pride, which is by Torchwood, which has been spotted. I met one of the guides earlier who then confirmed that there is some tracks going in and out from the Chitwa back to Torchwood. So maybe this is part of those ones, or these ones are coming from somewhere else. So these two, they were targeting the impalas, maybe due to the size. They saw that when they're two, an impala is something which can be enough to take down a big animal. When they're just two, it's a big mission. The animals also retaliate from a predator. Hunting is not a safe exercise. It can be also very dangerous to the lions. So you can see now he's sleeping, and there's a very nice bush in front. Maybe they are going to be here all day long. They might wake up, go drink, and come back again here. Possibilities of having these lions all day long at the same place, they are very much high, unless their attention got caught by something else in the area to try and hunt. So they can be able to lie down here for approximately 18 hours. You can see the nose is much more pink. This female looks very young still, because normally the nose, it gets dark when they're just about 8 years. Older than 8 years is then that the nose is gonna start darkening. So but this one is much more pink. So I'm just gonna show you that nose nicely there. So you can see it's still very much pink, and if you look at the size of this head, you can see there's no much scratches there. Still young. Maybe have started participating on hunting not long time ago, because lions normally they are independent when they are just about, they start participating on hunting when they're just about 18 to 22 months. That is when they join for hunting. So the whiskers are not that very big as well. So lions, if they lose whiskers, they come back. Paula, yeah, he's doing the same. You can see it's time to relax. After eating the Christmas food, you get tired. So it's what is happening here. If you look at this stomach, you can see that it's not empty completely. These lions, they had something. Maybe they had their Christmas meal yesterday. So you can see that the lions, before they got attacked by mange, they look beautiful. Look at these hairs. Oh, the other one is coming. We're going to see that other one nicely now. Just wait a little bit. I can see that the other one is just stood up now. He's just about to move forward. And so it looks like it's limping, unless maybe, because of lying down long hours. When they wake up, you will see them limping a little bit, and after that, they are going to be normal. So that one is concentrating on something. Maybe he's checking some of the Pride members from the side there, or look, now he's coming forward. You can see then the limp that I was referring to. So it's clear that this is not part of the Mangeni lion that we saw yesterday. This is something else. So they're very much clean. So the lions, they do help each other when it comes to grooming. And they use this grooming as a reciprocal grooming. It's like you scratch my back, I scratch yours. They do that with the hope of getting the very same kind of treatment back. So now let's quickly go to Pat, who is just about to say a good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Boxing Day to everyone. I hope you all had a great Christmas and have slept off those apple juices. So this morning I have taken over from Stevovo. We have Davicito on camera. And any questions or comments, use that hashtag SafariLive or the YouTube chat stream. Keep me company on this very warm Boxing Day. So there has been some leopards spotted yesterday, Hosanna, I believe yesterday morning. And I have heard that Tandi and Klalamba are somewhere around. So after I check the dam, I think I might go and have a look for some leopards. I know everyone would love to see some leopards, and I would love to see some leopards. They have been far and few between, the leopard sightings lately. It's getting a lot more difficult now with all of the greenery around, the thick bushes, making it a little bit harder. Marvin, what animal is at the top of my bucket list for? It would have to be, I think, a blue whale. That would be absolutely amazing to be underwater with one of those things, or even on top of the water with one of those things. The biggest mammal in the world. I think that's right up there for me. There's also a lot of strange deep sea creatures that I would love to see one day as well. Of course, the only way to get down there would be one of those specialized submarine rover type things, and I think that would be very difficult to tee up, but hey, who knows where this company is headed. We might end up doing deep sea live one day. You just never know. Wouldn't that be absolutely incredible? There is some strange creatures down there, obviously. Yeah, tee Graham up, Steve, that'd be great. I'm sure he'd be down for it. Mean Moo, which tracks are difficult to identify? Well, I just had trouble with a hippopotamus before with Steve, but that was just a little bit of confusion. It was all good. Most difficult track, well, I've found some antelopes very hard to distinguish between species when you see their tracks. Lions and all of your cats are really easy. There's a lot to look at. Lobes and the size. What else? Yeah, bird tracks, very difficult. Indeed, the bird tracks. As we look out over the dam, it doesn't look like there is a whole heap going on right now. We've got a couple of Egyptian geese down here taking a drink. Very nice. Water is essential on a morning like this. Very warm. Very cool. Of course, being called Egyptian geese because of those markings around their eyes, making them look pharaoh-like. I'm glad everybody's also enjoying this sight. It's very cool. They're a very common bird to see here, but I like them. I think they're very cool birds. Except when they're noisy. Geez, they can make some noise. Loud honks. Be very disruptive. Well, I'm sure a lion would love to be munching on these birds. Let's go to Sydney and see his.
You can see the lion is showing you his paw now. So that is a very dangerous and powerful paw. He's using that sometimes in order to catch small birds. So when it comes to the small birds, he just have to bring out his claws and catch it. Sometimes they do catch doves and francolins. You can see the lions, they do have some spots. So it's just that some of these spots, as they're getting matured, they do faint. But there you can easily see those kind of spots. It's nice and clear on this one. Because normally you see these spots underneath here by the stomach, but now you can see there also by the legs. It's nice and clear. So it's time now for these lions to allow the digestive system to work on all the food that has been ingested before. You can see now that looking after these paws. You see what it's doing, grooming, making use of the teeth helps them in order to get rid of the parasites. Unfortunately, I haven't picked up the paw if the paw smells like the Doritos. But these animals, the lions, they don't really smell bad. The thing is, if they have been to a carrion, that is when you're going to smell them. But the scent marks is not bad for the lions. So this tongue we are seeing there now grooming at those paws. So this kind of activity this lion is doing, sometimes it does inject quite a lot of body hairs. And this is the build-up of the hair balls. So this kind of obligate carnivores, they don't always maintain the obligation. Sometimes then you will see them going and eating grasses in order to clean the digestive tracts because the indigestible material is still stuck by the intestine, large intestine. So the lions, normally they do cough the hairs when they are feeding. When they're feeding, they do cough all these hairs out. But as cats, it's normal. The build-up of the hair balls is happening by all these different kind of cats. So for them to get rid of the hairs, sometimes it's when they eat grass. Because the grasses helps them in two ways. One, the grasses helps these animals in order to vomit, and if not that, in order to defecate all the indigestible materials. But they know if they want to vomit, they have to eat quite a lot of green grass so that the body can react by giving them a problem to kick back what has been ingested. So sometimes they eat a little bit of grass. A little bit of grass is going to stay in the stomach and they are going to excrete it through defecation process. So now let's quickly go to Pat, who is at this stage having something, enjoying Madwaraway.
Filled with joy right now. How good is this? So we're just making our way along the Buffelshoek boundary here and have come across some elephants having a big old play in the bath here. So there's about what looks like 6, and then there's about 3 of them down there having a nice swim. They really look like they're celebrating Christmas right now. How amazing. I wish I could be flopping on with them as well, although I'd probably get pretty squashed in there, I think. Awesome. I'm just going to move forward. Looks like they're going up to splash some dirt on themselves to help cool them down on this hot day. Please do remember, if you've got any questions or comments about this awesome sighting, hashtag SafariLive on Twitter or the YouTube chat stream. I could assume that this mud would act like a moisturiser. It would definitely help their skin. Sorry, I'm just going around here. So there on my skin, apparently $100 per bottle, this mud, and we were just grabbing it straight from the ground. Wowee, my skin felt very, very soft after that. So I can assume I do apologise. It seems like we are getting a little bit of, so I am sorry for that. We must be in a bit of a dodgy signal area. So it looks like they're just making their way through this thicket here. Just stop them, get a better look for everyone. Just want to make sure that I'm not cutting any off from coming through here. On any toes. Oh, this is cool. Look at this one carrying decorations in its mouth. Something for the Christmas tree, maybe. You're a day late, sorry buddy. Right, I think it's good to move up a little bit now. Like they've all yay, Ali's Navi, I believe the name was. Stay. I'm glad you're excited for the elephants. I was Navi, sorry, Navi. Yes, I'm very happy that I stumbled across beautiful mammals. Alright, well I'm going to find a better position for these elephants and send you across to Sydney.
You can see that the lions are just doing, as I indicated earlier, that this nice, very weeping white bush nearby might be a comfortable area for them to lie down for the whole of the afternoon. You can see now that one of them is now on a deep sleep, whereas the other one is just up and running. He was also lying down. He just woke up now. So the sun is discouraging them. But the positioning, I can promise you, if anything presents itself here, they will be able to take it down, because the dam is going to serve as a central point of attraction for their prey. You can see that now they're just lying down there. So these kind of animals, sometimes you will see them leaning against each other and grooming each other. That helps in order to maintain the social bond in this kind of pride. So the males starts to grow their mane when they're just about from 2 years onwards. You will see the beginning of the birds coming out on the neck. So until the neck is nicely fully covered for them to go and participate on a fight. Because if they don't grow this, the neck becomes vulnerable. This kind of hairs helps them when it comes to the big fight for the territorial purposes. You can see how close these animals are. So when these animals has got problems such as mange, the animals, there's different types of mange. Because of sleeping together and sniffing each other, they can be able to also pick up these kind of diseases. So some other types of mange can easily be transmitted through this kind of sniffing. Unfortunately, the cats, they don't like it going to the water to cool. They are very much reluctant to the water. They prefer to use just a normal shade. They use trees. They don't go to the water holes in order to swim to cool down the body temperature, like what you have been seeing the hyenas doing most of the time. These ones don't do that. So you can see that they're listening as some other vehicles are starting to pull out now. So I am going to be left alone again on this sighting. What I'm going to do now is I'll just try to reverse so that we can see these lions much better from a different angle. This is beautiful indeed. You can see there that these lions are so cute. Look at that. This is quite a beautiful sighting. Robbie, I have seen the hairballs a lot. And quite a lot of them by the Juma side, and long ones. So these hairballs, also I have seen the droppings consisted of grasses. So that is the way these animals are cleaning the internal stomach. They use they regurgitate hairballs, or else they do defecate some of these indigestible materials. Fur and owl, impalas are coming down this side, not seeing these big cats. You will see if one of them picks the presence of the impala. Oh, it's impalas and nyalas. We might see something interesting here if we can take our time, wait until these animals come here, because it's the very same animals they were stalking earlier when we arrived. And some of them are just playing, running, which might maybe pick, which might make noise in which these lions are going to pick up. My favorite pride is not a pride. My favorite structure of the lion is the avocas, the coalition. So that is my favorite social structure. So the pride, yes, I do love unkuhumas, but I love the avocas the most. It looks like those impalas are just all close. Maybe the lions, they're just being ignorant. They might hunt the very same animals later on when the sun is right, maybe after dark. So how these lions are hiding, it's difficult for an animal coming from the northern side to see them. some of these animals are going to stumble across these lions lying down here. And they're just next to the main pathway of these animals coming to drink and coming from drinking. So you can see that these are just the two females. Still, I'm not sure from which pride. David, the lions, I don't think they are now much more ready for breeding, but this one who is much more on the right, I think this one is as mature. The other one is the one which looks much more smaller. If you look at this one on the right, you'll see also on the legs that the spots, those spots that we were watching earlier on the other one, they are not really there. Karen, the avocas are so very much interesting. If you look at how the avocas are built, you will see that they've got this very nice long blonde mane with some black on it. When standing, you see those kind of men exaggerating the body, and when they are three together, it's magnificent. So you can see that a lion trying to do some grooming there. Maybe we're going to be able to see the barbs, because these kind of tongues, they've got the barbs which helps them in order to scrape the hairs from these animals. And that is what collects a lot of hairs and fur when these animals are eating. You can see that for the ticks, there is accessible areas and the inaccessible areas. So don't get surprised, there is still quite a lot of vehicles coming in. So now let's quickly cross over to Pat, who is also out on a game drive, and hear what he's having at the moment.
Well, I'm not sure what my favourite lion pride is just yet. I was pretty fond of the Ulololos up in the Mara. They were pretty great. And I'm sure if they were here right now, they would definitely be interested in this little herd of Inyala we have here. So we've got, seems to be all females there. There is one male, but it's just lurking behind a bush right now, a little bit out of sight. Definitely one of the, well, most antelopes we get here are aesthetic, but I find the Nyala to be very majestic, very graceful animals. See those big ears there, they're quite vascular, those ears. I wonder if that's similar cooling mechanism to the elephants, where there's a lot of networks of veins in their ears to help pump cool blood around the body. And there's that male there. We can see pretty big horns there. I think he could be the dominant male here. Very cool. So lion prides that we have here, I haven't spent too much time. In Kahumas earlier on, I did spend some time with, but I haven't seen them in the last month to 6 weeks. So I'm really hoping that I can spend some time with the prides here on Juma. It would really, really be great. Now, sorry, I just wasn't getting comms then. What was the question? Okay. I'm really sorry, everybody. do male lions fight a lot? Yes. In Yala, sorry. Yeah, well, male Inyalas will fight for dominance. So dominance is very important to antelopes. A dominant male will get mating rights over all of the females. So that's obviously where they want to be. So when it does come down to it, they will fight. But like with most other animals, they would prefer not to fight because that could be an injury. And out here, injury definitely can mean death very quickly. Anyway, I'm going to keep moving on. I haven't come across any tracks of leopards just yet, which is what I'm definitely keeping my eye out for. Hoping soon something comes up, just something to give us a little sniff. I might go check the pans, but while I do that, let's go back over to Sitters to have one last look at these lions.
So you can see that these lions are still very much relaxed, and I'm trying to figure out from which pride these two females belongs to. But when checking the last area I have left behind the Unkuhumas a few days ago, I can see that the distance is not that much. Maybe these two are also part of the Unkuhumas. So, but I've got an idea now. Instead of just standing here and watching these two lions lying down, I am thinking about going around the Chitwa and see if we cannot find any other interesting animal. We might be lucky with a leopard in the area or any other interesting animal. We will come back here again just now. I'm just gonna circle around here and see if we can pick up any evidence. So we might be lucky with Kuchava, a famous leopard in the area. So, and if these two belongs to the Unkuhumas, it means the others are also somewhere in the area. Maybe not this side where these ones are, or by this side, or maybe by the Torchwood, because it's not far away from Torchwood where we are. And most of the tracks has been spotted going over towards the Torchwood. So I'm suspecting that these two belongs to the Unkuhumas. So now let's quickly cross over to Pat, who's got a leopard.
Yes, I did it! I found a leopard. I'm so excited right now. So I'm not exactly sure. I think it's a female, but I'm not exactly sure who this is. I'm pretty sure it could be Tundi. Steve seems to think it's Tundi. But if anyone is watching along, I'm sure they'll be able to figure it out pretty quickly. So use that hashtag SafariLive or the YouTube chat stream to let me know who you think this is. Now they do seem to have their head pricked up. I'm not sure what she's looking at. I can't see, but something has definitely gotten her attention. She just popped out on the side of the road as we came through. Tundi, yeah, everyone seems to think it's Tundi. I agree. I think this is Tundi. The old girl. Beautiful. Tundi, of course, being the loved one. Very fitting name. I'm sure everyone has grown to love her over the years. I'm just going to pull in. See if we can get a better view here. Gert, the question was, would Tundi be able to mate in 2019? Is that the question? Well, I believe so. She's 12. about 12 years old, so she is pretty old, Eric. But I'm sure she would still be able to mate. She has somewhat recently had a daughter named Tralamba in the last year, and I'm sure she could go, hey? All right. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the best position here. Hello, girl. Sorry guys, I will get you on the cat and not my ugly mug in a second. Here we go. Oh, how beautiful are you? This is incredible. Being so close to Tundi. Absolutely unreal. So she's still kind of looking in that same direction she was earlier. I honestly can't see anything. Perhaps she's heard something. And of course she's going to go on the other side of us. I will move forward. I'll just let her go forward a little bit now. Alright, just creep up a little bit. Tim, it would be great to have another little one with Tundi. I would absolutely love to see her bring one more little leopard up to independence. She is starting to reach the later years of her life, but the leopards out here are very resilient animals. And I mean, with both Tundi and Tengana, they both really don't seem like they're slowing down at all in their older age. They're both very fit, very strong, and still super capable of making kills. Now, where has she gone? Tundi is notoriously elusive. Can give you the slip very quickly if you're not paying attention. Come on, girl. Behind us? Yep. Cool. Oh, yep, there she is. Everyone's wondering if she's safe from the lions. I think she will be. She definitely keeps her wits about her. And the lions... Whoops, sorry guys. Sorry, this is just a very tricky little section here. Just move forward a little bit more and I think we should get a good look at her. Yeah, so back to what I was saying, yeah, I think she is aware that the lions are around and will be keeping her distance. Most definitely. It's one of the biggest threats to a leopard out here are the lions. Can you guys see her? No. No? Oh, there she is. Very cool. Popped out at just the right time. So it is a little bit strange to see her this active, but perhaps she's trying to do something, trying to get stuff done before it does get too hot this morning. I love snacks. Yes, she did track us back. It's not often that we see that here, where an animal tracks us rather than us tracking them. Well, I'm going to keep on Tundi's tail, but it seems like Sitters has found some warthogs. Let's go check it out.
Congratulations to Pat and Steve, who just got Tandy on the other side. I'm still here by the Chitwa side, and with me is one of those animals preyed by the leopards as well. I've got the warthogs here. This is called a sounder. It's a group of warthogs together. Here I can see only the sows. The sow is a female, and I cannot see the boar. Boar is a male warthog. So here, these warthogs, they've got some babies, and it's quite a lot of babies. And when the babies are like this, it means these mothers are really looking after them, because they are so vulnerable, and there's quite a lot of small predators such as jackals which can come and confuse these mothers and take these babies. So these ones are being successful. I have seen one of the warthog sounder before having about 5-6 babies, and they ended up having just one because of the jackals. So they're good parents. So you can see that they are now moving away. I'm just going to pull forward and see if we can see them nicely, or else we have to go and look for something else, because I'm looking for those animals who normally hunt these kind of warthogs. So the warthogs, they also got a very good hearing ability. So when they hear something, you will see, and they don't waste time. They can easily digest and judge something and run away. So it's always not easy to come closer to the warthogs. So those animals can survive up to 12 years. That is quite a lot of number of years. They can have up to 4 babies, but can also litter up to 8 babies. Oh, a lot of elephant tracks here. The elephant has been here as well. Carol, the warthogs, the mothers, those are the ones who are spending much time with these little ones. And every time they pick up something, they just have to inform the little ones, let's go. And how they inform them is interesting. Sometimes you will hear them vocalizing, but first they go and the little ones will follow. They don't really approach and attack a predator. They just identify a place for safety, and off they went. So if a predator is not aiming nicely as well. So now let's quickly go back to Tandy and Pat.
Yes, we are still here with our queen Tandy, who seems to be on the look for some food this morning. She's looking a little bit hungry. Definitely not the biggest belly I've ever seen on a leopard. So I think she will be definitely focused on getting herself a feed this morning, especially before that heat of the day starts to set in. You can already see now that she is in the shade of the trees of this termite mound here. Isn't that a great little network right here? We have the termite mounds, which is helping the trees by giving them access to the water table and helping them with nutrients, and in turn that's providing shade for this lovely leopard here. We often see leopards on and around termite mounds. I remember the first time I ever saw Tlalamba. She was by herself actually, a couple of months ago, or about a month ago, yeah, it would have been. Yes, she does look very regal, very beautiful. Wow, isn't this great? Lisa, do I think Tandi and Tlalamba have parted ways? Well, I don't think just yet. I mean, Tlalamba is starting to reach that age of starting to... Well, not really. She's only not even a year yet. Or just turned a year old. Yeah, just turned a year old. So she still hasn't really reached that age of independence or sexual maturity. I still think we will see her with Tandi for a little bit longer. And sometimes we also see her with Tengana, and he's surprisingly tolerable of her and of Hosanna, actually. He's tolerable of both of them. Now, if you have to ask any people, they will say this is strange behaviour, but I'm not sure whether that's actually true or not. I think this might happen a bit, it just isn't seen or documented as much, where the father is accepting of the young, even past the age where they usually start to get a little bit annoyed. So everyone watching along, I would like to know, what is the first time that you saw Tandi? Please share any stories that you may have. Whoops, sorry everyone. Because I'm just having a think about it now. I think this is only the second time I've seen Tandi. I've spent a lot of time with Hosanna, a bit of time with Tengana, but not a whole heap with Tandi. You haven't seen her since September. Steve's saying he hasn't seen her since September. So I'm sure he's loving this sighting on the back as much as I am right now. Hey girl. Oh, this is special. This is very special. She's coming very close to the car. Oh, wow. Sorry, I'll just get my head out of the way. Oh, you beautiful girl. Nothing is better than that. Out here having a cat come right up close to you. And in a very calm manner. Obviously, if that was an attack or, you know, something with a bit more of aggression, it wouldn't be the same situation, but she's completely calm, just walking past there. Very beautiful. Blessed. It's the only word I have for that, is blessed. So I'm gonna creep forward now. As she creeps forward, still on the lookout for some food. Lee, you've only just started watching and you first saw Tandi 3 weeks ago. Well, welcome. I hope you're enjoying SafariLive. It's a very cool concept, isn't it? Being able to interact with us while we're out here showing you these beautiful things. But 3 weeks ago. So I think I was on leave then. I mustn't have been around for that. Oh, now I'm coming through a bit of a thicker patch here. Linda, it's been so long you can't even remember. Yes, well, it is a bit like that out here. Things start blurring into one. Sorry everyone. Now, I am doing a little bit of off-roading, but I can assure you the tree that I just drove over will be fine. It didn't snap and it will grow fine. So she's just through this thicket here. I can just see her spots. I might come around actually in front of her. Oh. Silver, your first time. Awesome, very, very warm welcome to you, Silver. I'm glad that your first time we got to see Tandi. but everyone else is saying that they haven't seen her for a while, but they love seeing her. And so do I. So do I. I'm right with everybody on that. She is taking me into a very thick area though. Can you guys? This is a perfect example of what I was saying earlier, of Tandy being very elusive. Obviously those rosettes of the leopards give them that extra edge, that extra bit of camouflage. Well, I'm gonna try and relocate Tandy and send you over to sitters in the meantime to give you an update.
I am now driving around the Chitwa to see if we cannot find any of the leopards occurring in this area, but it looks like there is no tracks here showing the movement of this leopard. So I'm if they are still sleeping or doing something at the moment. James, have you had any report on any of the wild dog sighting? The last time it was last month, and since then it has been very quiet. So wild dogs are also very interesting animals. And I like the way how they hunt. They don't worry about stalking a prey. They just rush onto the sighting and start chasing animals. Paula, the animals which don't have enough credits is the small animals. If you can check the class insecta, insects, those animals are not getting the credits they're supposed to have. Look at the contribution those insects are doing on this ecology. Just think about my favorite animal, the dung beetle. Just think about the preparation of soil for seeds germination in order to get trees, which gives us oxygen for survival. Now we are talking about the global warming and the climate change. These insects must have to do all this in order to better the environment. Dung beetles have been identified as well in order to revive the old mining areas. So those are the animals, I think they are not getting enough credit, and a lot of awareness has to be done so that people jointly can start working towards the protection of these insects. Bees. People must start to understand that when you've got bees, don't burn them, call the relevant authority to come and remove them. So all these animals, including our decomposers, such as the termites, they have to do something. You know, something interesting is that where I come from, we eat termites. But as I'm talking to you now, there is some methods introduced in order to protect the termites, so that during harvesting, it must have to be up to a certain level, because those insects are very important. So yes, they are becoming part of our diet, but at the same time, measures are now being implemented by the conservation department in order to protect those insects so that we can eat them, but to a certain level. So same applies to the medicinal plants. If you go to some of the areas where I come from in Venda, there is a certain period where people are even allowed to go. They must have to apply to go to the game reserves and dig some of the plants, but that is done under a strong scrutiny, and it's only for a short period in order to protect the species. Yeah, Chris, I'm very happy that you are joining me on a fight against the eradication of insects, specifically termites, dung beetles, and bees. Look, dung beetles are preparing the soil, and termites are preparing the soil, and the bees are doing pollination. Without this, there is going to be a very serious breakdown when it is coming to the ecology. The system will collapse if we take, it's like a chain. If we take one of these things out, we are going to experience a serious problem. So let's just try by all means to create a balance. So dung beetles are experiencing big problems because during the olden days, people used to farm cattle everywhere and they used to be everywhere, but now people are even starting to use the people are using long drops, and we are using the flush toilets as well, which is also contributing towards the disappearance of these, because they don't only concentrate on these animal dungs. So when I grew up, I've seen quite a lot of dung beetles there, not concentrating specifically on herbivore dungs. They also eat the omnivore dungs.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, we are still trying to relocate Tandy. We're just following kind of the direction of the wind. She was on a certain line going into the wind, obviously picking up on some smells. So we're just trying to follow that line right now and hope that we haven't lost her for good. Well, not for good, but at least for this morning's drive. So we've come into a bit of a clearer area now. So I'm just gonna have a listen and a bit of a look. We're listening out for any alarm calls. Often birds and antelopes, other animals will shout when they see a leopard. Even if the leopard isn't necessarily hunting or doing anything, they'll make a noise just to let everyone else in the area know that there is a dangerous predator somewhere. So I think I'm gonna keep going up. Do you reckon up this game path? Or Do you reckon go back? All right, I'm gonna double back into the thicket. And see if we can't pick her back up. Donna, how often do leopards eat or need to eat? Well, that is really dependent on a lot of different factors. So, whoa, sorry. So, they can survive for, I think, up to about 2 weeks before they start hitting a stage of no return, where their gut flora is just not going to work and they can't digest food anymore. But they can kind of space out their feeds over certain periods of time. So if they kill something big like an impala, obviously that's going to fill them up for quite some time, and they may not need to hunt as often. But you know, if they get something like a scrub hare, well, they're probably going to need to hunt again pretty soon in order to keep themselves full, to keep that metabolic furnace burning, to continue to grow. Tandy, yeah, puss, puss, puss. Where have you gone? You reckon? Somewhere on the right here, alright. Well, it looks like Sydney's signal has stabilised, so while I search, let's go across to him for an update.
I am now again slowly coming back to where we left the lion sighting. The two females that we are not too sure yet from which pride exactly they belong to, but I think they belong to Impala sighting, southern side of the Chitwa coming. Thank you. So we have just got an approval. There is a space for us to go in. We are going to see those lions again. So it's difficult to find leopards these days here by the Chitwa. The termites, they've got a very nice taste, and you must have to cook them nicely. You know, what you do is that you have to put some water just for about maybe 30 minutes. You boil them, and then you must put some cooking oil, and then you must put some tomatoes and onion and a little bit of water just to create a little bit of a soup there. You fry them as well before you put these other things. They are so very nice. But the chitin, the head, and those mandibles of the termites, they don't easily get digested. Our digestive system, the stomach juice, the acid is not corrosive in order to dissolve the chitin of these kind of insects. So I am now getting hungry because we're talking about the termites. Sarah, I have done that a lot. Don't get confused, Sarah. Here where we are not alone. The other vehicles also enjoying the same sighting. So it's just that now I can see these lions. They are still relaxed in the same spot, but behind the bushes a little bit. So not much is happening here at the moment. You can see it's just about relaxing now. The number has not changed yet. There are still 2 and no sign of any other pride members. You can hear the hippopotamus are also calling at the moment. But one of them is looking somewhere deep in the gully. There is a very big gully here from the dam wall going towards the southern side. Oh, you can hear the African fish eagle. Melissa, these kind of animals can detect a prey from very far, but that is determined by quite a lot of environmental factors. The wind plays a very significant role. Lions, they've got good sense of smell, and they've got a very good hearing ability. So they can be able to detect a prey from a very long distance, from a long range. The ears always moving and swiveling all the time. So they can be able to hear just a stick breaking from very far. And from the sense of smell, these animals can use the air particles to the nose, to the roof of the mouth, and take it straight to the brain. They will be able to tell at what distance from which direction is the prey. But apart from that, if you look here by the mouth, lions, and on top of their eyes, you will see they've got whiskers on the side of the mouth, and they've got some kind of hairs which are more like whiskers on top of their eyes. I just want to show you so that you can see on top of the eyes those kind of hairs. I can see they're nice and clear there. You can see they've got those kind of hairs there. So those kind of hairs plus the whiskers are called the vibrissae. It helps these kind of animals to detect the animal coming and also detect the size of the animal which is coming, whether it's the size of their prey or is something much bigger in the form of a big size such as the elephant. So at night, these animals can be able to execute hunting efficiently under cover and during the dark. They can be able to measure in between the spaces amongst these trees, make use of just those vibrissae. So they are very much instrumental. Sometimes they lose these hairs, they grow back again. But when these hairs are shaded, then they are going to have a problem a little bit until the hairs comes back, because the detection of all these things is not going to work properly. Nature, when the lions are, bless you, that's my camera operator, Marcel. So the lions, they do lick the wounds, but licking the wounds does not help in order to heal the wound very quickly. There is one female from the Unkuhuma pride. She has been having an injury for quite a long time. Because of the coarse tongue of these animals, when they are licking their wounds, they just make it worse all the time. So you can hear that the woodland kingfisher is so excited behind me. So I think now, after this sighting, I'm going to go back to Juma side and see. Maybe we might be lucky with something before we got back. As I can see that now the lions are starting to lie down completely. So Pat and Tandy sounds like a marriage couple. Now let's go back to Pat and Tandy by the Juma side.
Bad news, guys. We've given up the search. I think she has just thrown us off a little bit too well. So I've just come out of the thickets. I might still have a look up the riverbed, just in case, because she was moving in that direction. And I think I heard some squirrels shouting from there as well. So I'll have a quick look up here because I don't want to give up just yet. Beverly, which animal has the worst smell? Well, we smell of Tandy before, and she smelled not too bad. So leopard urine does smell like popcorn because of a compound. It's actually the same one when you're popping popcorn. It's the same chemical compound, which is why you get that smell. But probably a hippo. I would have to say so far, hippo has smelt the worst. Or rotted carrion as well. I remember seeing a giraffe carcass in the Mara and it was starting to smell pretty bad. So now I'm just going to cruise along the riverbed that she may have gone into, just in case. And also going to look for signs of Tlalamba as well. There might be a track or two. You just never know. Paula, would Tandy have gone for a nap? Well, maybe. I think it is starting to get hot. It just kind of changed very quickly, the weather. It heated up just out of nowhere. We knew it was going to get hot, but it just happened like that very quickly. So she may have been resting, but when we left her, she did look like she was still pretty active. And she definitely looked a bit hungry. I think she was hoping to get some food. But she may have very well gone down into this drainage line for a rest in the shade. I think it would be very cumbersome trying to hunt right now. I know that I would love to be curled up under a tree going for a nap right now. I guess you gotta think like a cat to find a cat. Star, will Tlalamba hunt for Tandy when she's older? No. I think she'll probably inadvertently hunt for Tandy in the fact that she might get a kill that Tandy or Tingana or someone else will come steal. I think she probably will get a few kills stolen from her in her early hunting days, as we've seen so often with Hosanna. He's very unlucky with his kills. So I don't think that she would go out and hunt for Tandy, if you get what I mean, if you're following along. So I think there's potential for a kill to be stolen, but I don't think that she would share her kills. Guess that's kind of what has made humans so successful as a species, is that we can care for our elderly and help them. Whereas a lot of animals out here won't. They'll just leave nature to take its natural process. Petey, thanks for checking in on my tracking skills. They are coming along pretty well. Obviously, I'm no expert yet, and I don't claim that, but I am starting to pick up on different tracks and starting to get a feel for how fresh things are. And one thing I really did struggle with when I first came out here was spotting tracks from a vehicle whilst driving, and I am starting to get my eye in on that as well. So they are progressing. As I said, definitely no professional, but definitely a lot better than when I first came out here to the bush. And it's fun as well. It's something I enjoy doing, you know, trying to find something, I don't know, just the whole process, the whole problem solving process, I think. There's something addictive about it. Yeah, it's a good challenge. Speaking of expert trackers, one of them, and let's go see how he's going.
I am now approaching the Twins Dam area. I want to try, maybe we might be lucky with Hosana here. Let's check the Twins Dam. So yesterday I was spotted in the very same area. So he must be somewhere here. So the only challenge is leopards and lions. They've got same when it's hot. They prefer the thick bushes. So maybe he might also be in the thick bushes. Melissa, the leopards, they've got to drink water regularly when the sun is too hot. But when the conditions are fine, overcast and having a kill, they don't have a problem, especially if they kill the animal themselves. But if he came as a takeover, there is a challenge, because the ones that take down an animal, normally this is what they do. You will see first they drink the stomach juice, and they also get quite a lot of blood because they will eat the liver. All these things then gives them a lot of moisture, and it's not necessary after that for them to go and drink water. Maybe Hosana is somewhere around this area. I'm seeing some impalas here. So the impalas can be a good sign that this cat is not around. But these days it's difficult to judge like that, because the bush is so thick, an animal can easily conceal and go much closer to these prey animals. Not at all. So now let's quickly cross over to Pet.
Well, the search has concluded, and now I'm going to make my way back via perhaps Telepan or Galagopan, just any kind of water source. See if we can find maybe another herd of ellies this morning. We were very, very lucky to have that sighting of them bathing earlier, but that wasn't enough for me. I want another one. And I mean, it was a little bit disappointing that we didn't get to spend more time with Tandi, but a short Tandi sighting is better than no Tandi sighting. That is for sure. Feeling very happy after this morning. It's been a nice drive. I'm sure Stevovo on the back is also very happy now, getting to cruise about. Yes, now all that's left to do is find Tlalamba. That would be great, or Hosana. But yes, to round out the Christmas holidays, it would be nice to get each one of the leopards to greet you for the season. Sorry, I just didn't get the name there, but I'm glad that there are people on board to find some more ellies with me. Sarah, I'm glad you're on board to find some more elephants with me. Of course, being Boxing Day, I'm sure everyone's taking it pretty easy today. I think tuning into SafariLive would be one of the best things. I think if I was off work today, that's probably what I'd be doing too, kicking my feet up and letting us do all the work in finding the animals. Whoop. Oh, almost lost my hat there. Yes, Emma, I would love to be watching Netflix and eating some food as well. Rosette, unexpected things about guiding in South Africa. Well, to be honest, a lot of things have been unexpected. This is a new realm for me. Well, it's not new anymore, but a couple of months ago, it was a very new realm for me. So there was a lot of surprises, a lot of things that had happened that they were all good surprises. You know, everything I was in awe at. Those real kind of moments where just, I don't know, life, the world, it just really always catches you off guard. There's always something new, something exciting, something beautiful. It's definitely different to being underwater, doing dive live. Very different. Obviously, the main thing is gravity, keeping me to my seat. I don't have to swim around. But also, just, it's a different medium, you know, living in water, and therefore all of the animals are very different. You don't see walking, so we don't have tracks. There's no scent marking or anything like that, as everything kind of meshes into one underwater. Obviously, if you were to urinate underwater, it's going to disperse pretty quickly. It's not like out here where if you were to urinate under a tree, it's going to stay there for a while and the scent's going to stay about. That's not to say that fish don't communicate using scent though. Scent is still a very important thing underwater. Don't get me wrong there. Good to have the heat around this time of year. It's my first Christmas away from Australia, away from my family. So at least the weather is the same. We get very hot Christmases back home. The seasons are pretty much aligned between where we are and where I come from. So it is nice to still have that little bit of home here with me out in Africa. Ooh, Emma is just informing me it's going to be 41 degrees centigrade. Now it's Fahrenheit, I think that's about 104, 105. So it's gonna get very hot. Very hot. But I love it. I'm a heat man for sure. I definitely cope with the heat very well. I'm not sure about Sydney though. Let's go and check out. Does he get hot?
I am now heading towards the hyena den to see if the hyenas are still in that den this morning. So I'm going to try my luck there. Yesterday I came here, they were not there. But I saw one hyena coming from this direction during the day. So the last time I saw the hyenas, it was when they were still at the other den, by the old den. The den that we first found them when they were still very young, before they started moving their little ones. So that was a long time ago. There is nothing here where we are. I am not seeing anything here. Maybe they have moved their babies again here. Indigo girl, you can see that here now there is nothing at all. It's just the den, and you can even see the entrance there. So I'm not seeing any evidence of any of the tracks also here nearby. Maybe they are still in there, or they might have moved to another area. So I'll just go and pass by the old den. The strategy of moving these little ones around here is to do with safety of the babies, and not only safety when it comes to predators, safety when it comes to the parasitic infections, because these animals, when there's too much fleas and too much fleas and parasites there, the little ones, chances for them to dehydrate, they are very much high. Remember, these kind of animals, such as the lions, the leopards, and the hyenas, they can travel long distances in search of food. Sometimes they don't even come back home for a day or two when they are looking for something to eat. And their little ones, if they've got quite a lot of ticks which are drinking from their bodies, it's very much easy for these little ones to die because of dehydration. Person, the hyenas droppings, it has to pass through different stages, and this is how it works. The droppings from a hyena after a kill is going to be very dark because of the blood, and the droppings which are going to come out a few days after a kill is going to be a different color. But when all these droppings are still fresh, they don't look white. They get white as they are getting dry. As they are getting dry is when you will see the color changing to become white. So the hyenas droppings don't smell nice. And not only hyenas, both hyenas, lions, and leopards. But the hyena is worse because those ones eat the carrions. So now I am at the old den. The old den and that den, they are not far away from each other. So here by the old den, I'm trying to check. I'll show you now. I'm just going around it now. But also here, no sign of the hyenas. You can see then, oh, but there's evidence on the ground. Oh. I am convinced that they are back here. It's just that they are not there now. Because here on the ground, there's quite a lot of evidence. I'm just going to pull back so that I can show you on the ground here that they were lying down here earlier this morning. So you can see right here that these animals were moving. So you can see right there is the evidence. They were just lying down there. You can see the markings. So now we can quickly go to Pat and see what he's having at the moment.
Wow, I did have some alleys to show you. I did find them. I did say I wanted to find them, sorry, and I did find them, but they have just gone off into the thickets, and they did seem a little bit uneasy, so I'm not going to go off-road to get a better look at them, because I just don't want to annoy them. So I do apologise for that, everyone. We did have some elephants. I was getting so, what's the word? I guess cocky. I was getting a little bit cocky then. Thinking, yeah, I told everyone I'm going to show them some elephants, and I'm showing them some elephants. And of course, they made me look a little bit silly. But which direction are they moving? They may be moving towards another watering hole. I'm not sure whether I'm going to get time to catch up with them though. It's been well, it was pretty, a lot of birds were around earlier on when Steve was driving, and now I can't seem to see any. I've been trying to keep an eye out for birds on every drive I go on now. Birding is becoming a bit of a part of my life now out here, and I must say I am really starting to appreciate birds as well. I've only really ever been interested in the really cool birds or the really different birds, but in a way they're all pretty awesome. I think having the ability to fly would be one of the best things. If I could modify my body in any way, I think it would either be the ability to fly or the ability to breathe underwater. I'm not sure whether I'd be... Oh, I think number one would definitely be breathing underwater though. Jeez, no scuba gear needed. That would be unreal. Constant free dive. Carol, yes, I think animals definitely do get cranky in this heat. You can definitely sense a bit more irritability, especially with the bigger animals like the elephants and the hippos that are so reliant on water and reliant on keeping themselves cool. So yes, I definitely think it does have an effect on the emotions of animals, especially mammals. Being closely related to us, we are mammals after all. So I think we would see a lot of the same reactions that we see in humans. A bit irritable, perhaps a shorter fuse. I'm definitely not cranky though. I've had a great morning. Steve, are you cranky? Davasito? Nah, we're all good. We're all good on here. Ooh, giraffe girl. We might be able to squeeze in a giraffe for you. We did see one yesterday when we went on a bit of a Christmas bumble. We saw two actually, two together. So they are around. Definitely a lot less here than there are up in the Mara. I remember in the Mara, it was almost the first thing you'd see every day coming down the escarpment. They stick out like a broken thumb. Grazing at the top of those trees. So we've got giraffe, elephant. Any other requests? Well, no, sorry, no requests. It is nearing the end of the drive, so hold on to them and you can tell us this afternoon when you join us on the afternoon drive. So I'm going to send you over to Sydney to close out the show. Thanks everyone.
I have got a female and pregnant steenbok at the moment. The male is just on the other side. So this steenbok is heavily pregnant. You will see if she decides to come back again much closer. You can see there. So now it's trying to run away. Let's hope she's not going to meet the predators. You can see that she is indeed heavily pregnant. And she is eating very fast. You can see that. So the steenboks can be so vulnerable. What I like about steenboks is that when they've got babies, these mothers, they do hide them inside the holes and they kill all the evidence. Every time they are going to even eat droppings of their little ones to hide away evidence that they've got babies. So they always want to keep it confidential. They don't want anybody to know that they've got some babies. So that Steenbach decided to move much more towards the other side. So these little ones, it means they've got to learn how to cover droppings every time they leave behind their droppings. Hello, hello, hello. Every time they leave their droppings, they must have to cover that. So maybe that is one of the behavior which is learned. So now we are just getting to the quarantine area, a place where the impalas are now enjoying the most for some safety reasons. And it has been a privilege having you today, and thank you very, very much for all your questions and comments. You have been very great, and your questions were very much great as well. So I'm hoping to be back again and be with you this afternoon, where I'm going to be looking for some other interesting animals.